Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he anticipates Israel will have the overall security responsibility in Gaza after the conflict with Hamas ends. Mr. Netanyahu was speaking to ABC News in the United States.
I think Israel will, for an indefinite period, will have the overall security responsibility, because we've seen what happens when we don't have it. When we don't have that security responsibility, what we have is the eruption of Hamas terror on a scale that we couldn't imagine.
Mr. Netanyahu referred to tactical little pauses to allow humanitarian relief into Gaza, but he repeated there would be no ceasefire until hostages were released by Hamas. The French ambassador to the United Nations has called for a humanitarian truce in Gaza after a closed-door meeting of the Security Council. Nicolas de Rivière said it should be durable and lead to a ceasefire, a position that differs from Western allies, the US and UK, who say a ceasefire would only benefit Hamas.
Given the gravity of the humanitarian situation and the scale of the needs of the Gaza population, France calls for an immediate humanitarian truce. This truce must be durable and sustained. It is absolutely necessary and must lead to a ceasefire. Safe humanitarian access to the Gaza Strip must also be guaranteed in order to increase the number of humanitarian convoys.
There was no indication that the Security Council was closer to agreeing on a ceasefire resolution after a previous failed attempt. Ukraine's commander-in-chief has said that one of his close advisers has been killed in an explosion at his home in a suburb of the capital, Kiev. The circumstances of the incident are still unclear, as Ian McWilliam reports.
Ukraine's military chief, General Valery Zaluzhny, said his close adviser and friend, Major Hennady Chastyakov, died when an unknown explosive device detonated in a birthday gift. Major Chastykov's 13-year-old son was also seriously injured and is in hospital. Speculation on social media suggested the device may have been planted intentionally. But the Ukrainian Interior Minister wrote on social media that the explosion happened when the pin was accidentally removed from a live grenade among the major's birthday presents. General Zaluzhny said an investigation would determine the cause and circumstances of the tragic incident.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said in his daily address that it's irresponsible to talk of holding presidential elections next year in a time of war when Ukraine requires unity. He was responding to growing debate about whether a presidential election due in 2024 should be postponed. All elections, including the presidential vote, are technically cancelled under the present conditions of martial law. Mr. Zelensky said that now was the time of defence and of battle, a time for the country to be united, not divided. BBC News. A nursery school in Germany is facing a backlash after suggesting it could drop Anne Frank from its name. Teachers and parents at the Anne Frank Daycare Centre say the story of the Holocaust victim is difficult for toddlers to understand. They say a name without a political background is more suitable. There have been reports of a rise in anti-Semitism in Germany because of the conflict in Gaza. Donald Trump has concluded giving evidence in his civil fraud trial in New York after repeatedly clashing with the judge. The former US president was warned not to treat his court appearance like a political rally. Mr. Trump and his two eldest sons are accused of fraudulently overstating the value of their property empire. The New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the case, spoke outside court after Mr. Trump's testimony.
He rambled, he hurled insults, but we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets to basically enrich himself and his family. He continued to persistently engage in fraud. The numbers don't lie, and Mr. Trump obviously can engage in all of these distractions, and that is exactly what he did, what he committed on the stand today.
The US system of testing international airline passengers, aircraft and airport wastewater for COVID-19 is being expanded to include flu and other respiratory viruses. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said the monitoring provided a picture of what was going on globally, allowing detection of early strains. The Buenos Aires prosecutor's office has banned fans from entering football grounds in the Argentine capital wearing shirts from the Brazilian club Fluminense. The ruling comes after Fluminense's dramatic win over Boca Juniors at the Copa Libertadores final on Saturday. Fans of rival Buenos Aires clubs have been wearing the Fluminense kit to their matches to taunt Boca. And that's the latest BBC News.